Who is threatening Lue Elizondo's life? Well, over the past couple of days, we had this very interesting statement that was published by Lue through other media outlets. And it went on to state, to add insult to injury, I was notified yesterday that there may be a personal threat against myself and several other whistleblowers formerly associated with the UAP effort for the US government. As such, I would like to make this perfectly clear to the American people. I am not prone to accidents. I am not suicidal. I am not abusing drugs. I am not engaged in any illicit activities. If something happens to me or my family members in the future, you will know what happened. Which of course sent shivers down the spines of us UFO enthusiasts, because who's after Lue Elizondo? What does he know? Who's going after him? Why is this happening? And why is this happening to whistleblowers? Well, we know why this is happening to whistleblowers, don't we? But Skyfire News have been hot on the heels of this stuff. And they had a post as well about Gary Nolan. Now, Gary Nolan, for anyone that doesn't know, is, again, another brilliant mind within the UFO community. He did during the, I can't remember who it was now, but he basically spoke about the materials that were tested from UFO crash sites. And this was what he had to say regarding the alleged threats that were made against Lue Elizondo and his family. So this, like I say, is what he had to say.
And recently, another friend of yours, colleague Lue Elizondo, in a statement said he was aware of threats made against himself, his family, and other whistleblowers. I'd love your take on that and how you see that playing out. And do you think this could put a stop to other whistleblowers coming forward?
It certainly casts a pall. I mean, I know the specific incident that Lue is discussing.
Now, that's exactly what this is. This is a deterrent to all whistleblowers to keep it stum. Because, obviously, Lue Elizondo is huge in the UFO space. He's one of the biggest UFO whistleblowers to come out, besides maybe David Grush, Stephen Greer, and people like that. And if you make significant threats against a man like that, then other people will see that as a deterrent, because they don't want to lose their life over this.
And it was real. And it's real. And it's ongoing. You know, that information might go public. It's not my place to say it, but it's pretty serious. I mean, look, I got a phone call myself at one point, basically telling me to be careful how I was talking about things. And I won't go into the specifics of what was said and all the rest, but it shook me. It was a call from somebody in the government, or
Wow.
representing what was being said in certain circles. And it was a threat, you know, that was the first time I ever felt, okay, this is getting personal. It wasn't a threat by them. It was telling me that the way I was talking about things, I needed to be careful, because there are others who will. Knowing, again, what Dave and Lue have been going through, you know, it's like what I said at the SALT conference. It's not, I was asked, what is the best evidence? You know, absent, you know, a UFO landing on the White House lawn, is what your government is doing about it, and the basically pretzels that they're twisting themselves into to not talk about it or dance around the subject. I mean, if there's nothing there, release the data. I mean, that's just a fact. If there's nothing there, release the data. Or why are you acting so guilty?
And recently another
begs the question of who's making these threats, obviously. Like, he said there that someone from within the government sent warnings. But does that mean that they were about to pull the trigger, if necessary? Or were they referring to someone else that could possibly pull the trigger? Begs the question. But obviously, that is now two big names in the UFO space who have been threatened with their lives over disclosure and trying to disclose information. And this is becoming a recurring theme that I've noticed, especially is it doesn't matter who you are, how big you are, what kind of a following you are, what kind of a platform you've got. If you're saying the wrong things, people will take notice, and sometimes the wrong people are going to take notice. Now, Danny Sheehan, obviously another very big name within the UFO space, issued a statement on the alleged threats against Lue Elizondo and the death of someone associated with the UFO back engineering program, which apparently doesn't exist if you speak to the government. But he went on to say, in light of the public profile of my client, Lue Elizondo, and the fact that he has already endured multiple threats to him and his family, it was prudent and to sensitize people to the fact that the person associated with the UFO back engineering program who apparently committed suicide could be yet another retaliation against the potential whistleblower. It wasn't until law enforcement concluded its investigation that we learned that no foul play was involved. Always better to be safe than sorry. My experience working with historical in cases like Karen Silkwood has taught me that real threats do exist, and sometimes having a greater public awareness is the way to defend against such egregious acts, which is exactly why Lue Elizondo posted that statement. He put it out there. He was like, it was almost like, obviously he was speaking to the public, but he was also speaking to the government indirectly and saying, I know that you're trying to put a bit of a hit out on me. I'm aware of this, and I'm making everyone else aware that no, I do not participate in X, Y, and Z, and therefore I've dotted my I's, crossed my T's, and now you cannot get me, basically. It's like, if anything now was to happen, all eyes are going to be on you, because I've made that very well aware. So it's very interesting, to say the very least, the way that things have panned out. Very clever from Lue Elizondo to take it so public. But he also went on to state that last week, a person associated with the UFO back engineering program did commit suicide, sadly. And this suicide prompted Lue Elizondo to issue the statement and the threats to him and his family. Sheehan says that Elizondo may have jumped the gun in issuing this statement. And this was on a Twitter space. So let's take a little listen to that.
Danny, I was wondering if you could elaborate, or if you have any more information about these that we're hearing about recently. I know we touched on it a little bit, but like, what's happened that triggered this tweet from Lue? Or do you guys have any suspicion of like who's the group behind these alleged threats, more specifically than just like the gatekeepers kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't believe that the. I've got to be careful about this. It's true that there are all kinds of people, saying bad things about Lue. And they say bad things about Chris Mellon, and they say bad things about other people who they view to be whistleblowers because they're hostile skeptics about the whole issue. But that doesn't really amount to significant threats.
No.
There are people who do other things. That, for example, there's some complete, cloaca, who has filed a criminal charge against Lue with the SEC. It's a totally contrived bullshit charge of saying that this person apparently went out and bought a single share of stock in the book publishing company that's going to be publishing Lue's book. And then he's filed a criminal complaint with the SEC against Lue for alleging that he's engaging in fraud and defrauding the stockholders of the book publishing company. Is such a complete, bullshit position, but it's irritating and it's aggravating, and it's a form of kind of harassment on the part of this kind of ardent skeptic. But that's not the kind of thing that we're talking about in the recent event. What's happened is that a person who is knowledgeable about the program, that is the crash retrieval program and the back engineering program, was found dead.
Now this, again, it goes back to this being like almost warnings from people to be like, don't go near this topic, don't speak about this topic. But if there's nothing out there, like the government states that there's not, then why have you got to be so careful around it? And I'm going to get onto something in just a moment regarding this channel right here that I've noticed especially, which is very interesting.
And the police believed that it was a suicide. But some of the people said, well, look, you shouldn't be hasty in coming to your conclusion that it's a suicide, because he was in possession of important information that he may have been open to revealing publicly, and that therefore you should not precipitously close the investigation, just deeming it to be a suicide. You should have a homicide investigation preliminarily. And that all started to skyrocket from there. It's like that you've probably heard that the people that are pro-Trump people have, through the Freedom of Information Act, gotten a copy of the search warrant for Mar-a-Lago, and that they saw that there was a provision in there authorizing the use of deadly force if necessary, which is part of a boilerplate warrant form. That's a problem in and of itself. That's a provision that's in virtually every federal warrant. But what they did is they seized upon that, saying, "Oh, look, the warrant that was issued to search Mar-a-Lago is had an authorization to use lethal force if necessary. Oh, what would have happened if Trump himself were present when they executed the warrant, which he was not, and which the Justice Department had gone to great lengths to make sure that he wasn't there when they exercised the warrant. But say, well, what would have happened if he had been there and he'd resisted? Does that mean that they would have used lethal force against him? And then that ballooned into, there was a plot to potentially kill him, to kill Donald Trump, that was instigated by President Biden. And then it went on to that this was an assassination plan on the part of Biden. Again, and this happened. It just balloons and it snowballs into these kind of brain farts, that people engage in. And the point is that some people started doing that with regard to this thing, of this event that took place last week, that this person was found dead, and that there was a preliminary assumption that it was a suicide, an unfortunate and tragic event. But because there was a request to keep open the potential that it might have been a homicide, given the sophistication of some of the means that they have at their disposal to do that. And then that word leaked out, and somebody then assumed that there was a homicide that had been committed. And then it ballooned out into saying, oh, if homicides are being committed against people who have UAP information, this constitutes a horrendously dangerous situation. And then it was probably not a good idea to go forward and say, to announce that Lue had no intention of committing suicide, and he was not engaged in any kind of activities that constituted a threat of any kind of fatal injuries to him, etc. And that was probably a less than carefully thought through step to be taken, because it fostered and fed into the kind of maelstrom that began to develop around that. But that's not appropriate. There is not adequate evidence of any kind that there is that type of threat that is outstanding against the people at the present time.
I think that's a fair point that's being made there. Fair point.
But if the testimony that David Grush has presented to the Congress is accurate, and certainly for the most part it is, that he has stated that he has been put into possession of information in his privileged position that he was in on the UAP task force, that has led him to believe that some people have been killed by the legacy group to keep secret the information about the program, the crash retrieval program and the back engineering program. And if you take that testimony and then you co-join it or erroneously conflate it with the information that arose around this particular tragic event that has occurred last week, unless it turns out to be more. But at this point, it has not developed any credible evidence that it was anything but a suicide, an unfortunate event. Those are getting conflated, and I think that we have to take extreme care inside the UFO community not to become hyperbolic, not to become paranoid and delusional, and not to become sensationalist about all of this stuff. We have to exercise sound, responsible judgment about these things, and not try to take untoward advantage of the susceptibility of the American public at the present time about people acting irrationally and violently. We need to be careful not to feed that cultural meme that's operative right now.
Perfect. Well, hopefully that answered your...
Wow, so that's very powerful and actually a very pragmatic and sensible way to look at things. But in terms of things being silenced, obviously, I by no means am about to say that I am this all-being hub of information. But there have been some suspicious activities going on my YouTube channel especially. Now, of course with YouTube, you expect to see fluctuation in viewership and subscribers and all the rest of it. Forever, and as long as I've had this channel and many other channels that I've got, you see this all the time. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. You hit a trend, it goes all the way up, and then eventually it plateaus and it comes back down. But there has been an irregular trend over on my channel recently for about a month, which can't just be explained away. And that being, there is a definite silence going on with my channel. Now, I cannot say that the government has seen my channel, and I can't think that I'm arrogant. Please don't think I'm arrogant enough to think that the government have seen my channel and thought that I'm this massive whistleblower and I'm like, I deserve to be shut down. No, not at all. But I do think there is something suspicious going on, whether it be, I've seen it with other, not just UFO channels, but conspiracy channels especially. You see, right, I was consistently getting good viewership, you know, and then all of a sudden, after this video here, it drops, then it does well, and then it drops, and then it plateaus at lower numbers, which makes me wonder, is there an element of silencing happening across not just whistleblowers, but across social media as well? YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, I've posted it on my Twitter. If you see the graphs, it literally goes from up here all the way down, and then it just flatlines at the bottom, and there's like a cap. So it may be that I'm like looking too deep into it. Maybe it's nothing, but there is something to be said. I understand YouTube quite well, but there is something to be said about this significant drop off, not just for myself, but for other people as well. Maybe there is something a bit more going on. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. While you're down there, be sure to jump scare the hell out of that like button. Subscribe if you're new and tick on my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload to the channel. And until next time, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed. Can't wait to see you in the next one, and I'll speak to you later. Peace.